So I'm just charging up all my batteries because I'm going out on a video shoot tonight. I thought I would address some comments that were made about the Raynox review. And the one is, out of all the setups, which is the extension tubes on the 50 or the Raynox on the 50, which one is sharpest? That's what I'm going to deal with today. So we've got the Raynox, we're going to be using that on the 50, and the 50 with the extension tubes. And just for fun, we're going to compare it to the dedicated macro lens here. Okay. For our subject, we need something that's not moving but has texture. So for that, I'm going to use a dead lens. So now we have that in place, we need to go and get our camera and let's get set up. So for this test, I've taken off all the UV filters, so we're not going to be having that interfere with the test. For the lighting, it's just going to be standard lighting. We've got the head set up just normal. It's normal flash settings, nothing changed. We're going to be using max sync speed, which is for this camera 1/200th of a second, and an ISO of 100. So I've worked out from the testing that the Raynox is almost equivalent to a 31mm extension tube, so we're going to use just the 31mm. So with that done, we have all the photos taken that we need to do for this test. Let's go over to the editing machine and let's pixel peep and see which one is sharpest. So our first one here, this one, if you recall, was the 50mm with extension tubes. And I'm going to focus on this part just here. Okay, let's go to the Raynox now. And we'll do the 100mm. So if we look at these images now, and what we're looking at are these, the veins in the leaves and the little spots and that. If we look, the 50mm is slightly more magnified on an extension tube. We can see the detail here and this crack just here. Now, the Raynox is very sharp, but again, we're zoomed out a little bit more, so that will play a little bit of a factor. And then we have the 100mm, which, as you know, is very sharp anyway. But all three of these are very sharp. All three of them. For us to really pixel peep, obviously the 100mm is slightly sharper. But it's the difference in sharpness is not something you really are going to notice. If you was to print it out, no one's going to take a look at that and go, oh, that was shot on the 100mm macro because it's really sharp. No one's going to say that. The Raynox performs very well considering it's a piece of glass in front of your lens. You can't argue the fact with that. That is a sharp piece of glass. Again, it's slightly zoomed out a little bit. I couldn't match it perfectly with the extension tube, so that does play a little bit of a factor into the sharpness. That is just as sharp as anyone could possibly want. So there you go. That's my verdict. Again, your dedicated macro lens is going to be sharper, but it's more than 10 times more than... Can't work it out right now, but let's face it, the Raynox is £50. A dedicated macro lens, you're talking upwards of £800, so there's a massive difference there. So if it wasn't sharper, I'd be very disappointed. So let's just knock that out of the equation, because a dedicated macro lens is designed to do the job of macro photography. When it comes to 50mm with the Raynox versus the 50mm on extension tubes, you're really not going to tell much difference at all. Let's come down to this part here, just to double check. Again, the extension tubes are zoomed in slightly more. The Raynox is slightly sharper. Again, that could be because it's zoomed out more. So there you go, that's my verdict. honestly, I don't think you're really going to tell much difference between the Raynox or extension tubes when it comes to sharpness. I want to thank you for getting to the end of this video. Subscribe if you haven't done already, and as always, I'll see you on the next video. What do? I had a battery in the camera. No card in camera. Yeah, we need a card as well. On today's episode of Stewart, we show you how not to do a photo shoot.